Most people think attraction is about looks, charm, or saying the right things at the right time. That's a lie. Real attraction, the kind that makes someone stay, invest, and become emotionally hooked, comes from how you carry yourself, how you move, and how you respond under pressure. In a world where attention is cheap and options are everywhere, the only thing that separates you is your behavior. Not your words, not your intentions, your behavior. You don't build value by chasing, begging, or trying to impress. You build it by discipline, by self-control, and by understanding that your time, your energy, and your presence are assets. And assets are never given away for free. If you want someone to respect you, desire you, and think about you even when you're not around, you have to operate differently from everyone else they've met. This isn't about manipulation. It's about standards. It's about knowing your worth and backing it up with consistent actions. Because at the end of the day, people don't fall in love with potential. They fall in love with potential. They fall in love with patterns. And if you master these patterns, you stop chasing attention and start attracting commitment without forcing or losing yourself in the process. Let me tell you something most people don't want to hear. The moment you start chasing someone, you lose leverage. And in today's world, leverage is everything. You can be beautiful, smart, kind, but if you're always the one texting first, always available, always trying to win someone over, you're not building attraction. You're lowering your value. A woman who understands her word doesn't move like that. She doesn't chase, she chooses. And that one shift changes everything. Look at real life. You've seen it before. There's always that one woman who isn't the loudest in the room, not the one trying the hardest. But somehow, she's the one everyone notices. Why? Because she's not performing for attention. She's observing. She's filtering. She's deciding who deserves access to her time and energy. That's power. Now compare that to someone who's constantly checking their phone, overthinking every reply, adjusting their personality just to be liked. That's not attraction. That's anxiety. And people can feel that energy instantly. It pushes them away, even if they don't consciously realize it. Choosing instead of chasing starts with discipline. It means you don't respond instantly just because you're available. It means you don't cancel your plans just because he finally called. It means you don't ignore red flags just because you like how he looks or how he makes you feel in the moment. Let's get practical. If a man takes hours to reply, you don't double text or send messages. You stay in your lane. You continue your day because your life doesn't pause for inconsistency. And when he comes back, you don't reward that behavior with excitement. You match his energy or you lower your investment. Another example, if he only calls late at night or only reaches out when it's convenient for him, you don't accept that access. You don't pick up every time. You're not available on demand. You're available by choice. And if he doesn't meet your standards, he doesn't get upgraded access to your time. That's what choosing looks like in real life. But here's the part most people struggle with. It requires you to be okay with losing people. Because when you stop chasing, some people will fall off. Not because you did something wrong, but because they were never willing to meet you at your level in the first place. And that's a win, not a loss. Too many people hold on to potential. He could change. He might become better. No, you don't build relationships on potential. You build them on patterns. What he shows you consistently is who he is. Your job is not to fix that. Your job is to decide if it meets your standard. A woman who chooses doesn't argue for attention. She doesn't beg for clarity. She watches behavior and makes decisions quietly. That silence, that confidence, that's what creates curiosity. That's what makes someone lean in and think, wait, she's different. And let's be honest, men value what they work for, not what comes easy. If you're always available, always forgiving, always understanding without boundaries, there's no challenge, no growth, no reason for him to step up. But when you choose carefully, when you make him earn access to deeper parts of you, your time, your emotions, your loyalty, he starts to invest. And the more he invests, the more he values you. This doesn't mean playing games. It means having standards and sticking to them even when it's uncomfortable. It means saying no when something doesn't feel right, even if you like him. It means walking away when effort isn't matched, even if it hurts. Because real power isn't in being chosen by someone. It's in choosing correctly. And the truth is, the moment you fully step into that mindset, everything shifts. You stop overthinking. You stop chasing validation. You stop settling for half-effort connections. You become the one who decides. And when you become that person, you don't have to ask for attention anymore. It comes to you naturally. Because people can feel when you're not desperate for it. That's the difference. That's the standard. Let me be real with you. Your emotions are either your greatest strength or your biggest weakness. And most people lose relationships, respect, and opportunities not because they're not good enough, but because they don't know how to control how they react. Anybody can stay calm when things are going their way. That's easy. But what about when he doesn't text back, when plans change, when something feels off? That's where most people fall apart. They overthink, they react instantly, they send emotional messages they regret later. And in that moment, they're not in control anymore. The situation is controlling them. A woman who understands her power doesn't try to control a man. She controls herself. And that right there is what makes her different from everyone else. Think about this. If a man says something that irritates you, most people react immediately. Tone changes, attitude shifts, maybe even an argument starts. But a woman with emotional discipline pauses. She doesn't let a temporary feeling turn into a permanent mistake. She processes before she responds. That pause, that silence, that control, it's powerful. Real life example, let's say he goes quiet for a day or two. The average reaction is panic. Did I do something wrong? Is he losing interest? So what happens? Double text, long paragraphs, maybe even passive-aggressive comments. And now, instead of creating attraction, you've created pressure. But a woman who controls her emotions sees the same situation differently. She doesn't jump to conclusions. She doesn't chase clarity through emotional reactions. She continues her life. She stays grounded. And when he comes back, she responds from a place of calm, not chaos. That's what makes her presence feel rare. Here's the truth: people are drawn to emotional stability. In a world full of overreactions, drama, and unpredictability, calm energy stands out. It feels safe, it feels mature, it feels valuable. And don't confuse this with being cold or distant. This isn't about shutting down your feelings, it's about mastering them. There's a difference. You can feel everything, just don't let everything control how you act. Let's get practical. When something triggers you, don't respond immediately. Give yourself space. Even if it's 10 minutes, an hour, or a full day, ask yourself, am I reacting or responding? Because reactions are emotional. Responses are intentional. Another example, if he cancels plans last minute, instead of showing disappointment or frustration instantly, you stay composed. You don't beg for another time or make him feel like he ruined your day. You simply adjust. No problem, maybe another time. And then you move on. Why does that matter? Because it shows you're not dependent on him for your happiness. And that independence creates respect. Now here's where it gets deeper. When you control your emotions, you also control your standards. You don't let temporary feelings make long-term decisions for you. Just because you like him doesn't mean you tolerate inconsistency. Just because you miss him doesn't mean you accept disrespect. That's discipline. Most people say, I just follow my heart. But if your heart isn't trained, it will lead you into situations that cost you your peace, your time, and your self-respect. You need balance. Feel but think. Care but evaluate. A woman who controls her emotions doesn't argue to be understood. She observes and decides. If something doesn't align with her standards, she doesn't need a dramatic exit. She simply withdraws her energy. And that quiet withdrawal, it speaks louder than any emotional reaction ever could. Because here's the reality: when you react emotionally, you reveal everything. Your fears, your insecurities, your dependence. But when you stay composed, you create mystery. You make people think, you make them wonder where they stand. And that uncertainty, that's what pulls them in. But this level of control doesn't come naturally. It's built through self-awareness, through discipline, through catching yourself in those emotional moments and choosing a better response. You won't be perfect, nobody is. But every time you choose calm over chaos, every time you choose patience over impulsiveness, you're building a version of yourself that commands respect, without asking for it. And once you reach that level, everything changes. You don't get pulled into unnecessary drama. You don't lose yourself trying to control someone else. You stay centered, grounded, and in charge of your own energy. That's real power. Here's a hard truth most people don't accept. If your life revolves around someone else, you've already lost your value. The moment your schedule, your mood, and your priorities start depending on one person, you stop being attractive. You become predictable, available, and easy to take for granted. A woman who stands out doesn't build her life around a man. She builds a life a man has to fit into, and that difference is everything. Think about it. When someone has nothing going, no goals, no structure, no purpose, they naturally cling to relationships for excitement and validation. Every message feels important. Every delay feels personal. Their entire emotional state depends on how that one person behaves. That's not connection, that's dependency. Now compare that to a woman who has a full life. She has goals she's working toward, a routine she respects, and standards she refuses to break. She's busy building something: her career, her mindset, her body, her peace. So when someone enters her life, they're not the center of it. They're an addition to it. That's what makes her magnetic. Real life example, let's say he texts, "What are you doing tonight?" The average response: cancel plans, rearrange the schedule, make yourself available immediately. Why? Because the opportunity for attention feels more important than your own life. But a woman with purpose doesn't move like that. If she already has plans, whether it's work, gym, family, or even personal time, she keeps them. She doesn't drop everything just because someone finally showed interest. She values her time too much. And here's what happens when you operate like that. You become respected. Because people can feel when your life has structure. They can feel when your time is limited. And when something is limited, it becomes valuable. Another example, if he disappears for a few days and then comes back like nothing happened, most people accept it instantly. Why? Because they've been waiting. Their life paused, hoping he'd return. But a woman with her own world doesn't wait. She continues moving forward. So when he comes back, he's stepping into a life that never stopped. And now he has to catch up to her energy, not the other way around. That's power. Let's get practical. You need routines that don't depend on anyone else. Whether it's waking up early, working on your goals, hitting the gym, learning a skill, or building something that matters, your life needs structure. Because when your day is full, you don't have time to overthink small things. You don't sit around wondering why someone hasn't texted back. You're too focused on moving forward. Another key point: protect your time like it's money. Because it is. Every hour you waste chasing attention is an hour you could have invested in becoming better. And the truth is, the more you invest in yourself, the more valuable you become in every area of life, not just relationships. Now here's the deeper layer. When your life is full, your energy changes. You're not desperate for attention. You're not seeking validation. You're already fulfilled. And that fulfillment creates a calm confidence that people are naturally drawn to. It's not loud, it's not forced, it's just there. And let's be honest, people want to be part of something that's already valuable. Nobody wants to feel like they're your only source of happiness. That's pressure. But when you already have a life that's moving, growing, and evolving, being with you feels like an upgrade, not a responsibility. But this requires discipline, because it's easy to get distracted. It's easy to slow down your progress for someone you like. It's easy to stop prioritizing them over your own goals. That's where most people lose themselves. You have to remind yourself, your purpose comes first, always. Because the moment you abandon your path for someone else, you lose the very thing that made you attractive in the first place. A woman who lives a life a man can't interrupt, doesn't ignore him, she just doesn't revolve around him. There's a difference. She gives time, but not all her time. She shows interest, but not at the cost of her identity. And that balance, that's rare. Because in today's world, most people either give too much too fast or hold back completely. But the real power is in having a life so solid that nobody can shake it. And when you reach that level, something shifts. You stop chasing moments and you start building a lifestyle. You stop needing attention and you start attracting it. Because now, anyone who enters your life knows one thing: you're not waiting for them. They're stepping into something that's already in motion. Let's cut through the noise. Words are cheap. Anybody can say, I miss you, I care about you, I want something real. But if those words aren't backed by consistent action, they mean absolutely nothing. And the biggest mistake people make in relationships is falling in love with what someone says instead of paying attention to what they actually do. A woman who understands her value doesn't get impressed by talk. She gets convinced by effort. And that right there separates her from everyone else. Because here's the reality, when a man truly values you, you won't have to guess. You won't be sitting there decoding mixed signals, wondering where you stand, or questioning his intentions. His actions will make it clear. The time he invests, the consistency he shows, the way he prioritizes you. Those are the real indicators. Real life example, he tells you he likes you, but he disappears for days. Comes back with excuses, promises to do better. Sounds good, right? But nothing changes. Now most people will hold on to the words. At least he said he cares. No, that's where you lose. A woman who rewards effort, not words, sees that pattern and adjusts immediately. She doesn't argue. She doesn't beg for consistency. She simply stops investing at the same level. Her energy matches his actions, not his promises. That's discipline. Another example, he says he wants to see you, but never actually makes solid plans. Always, we'll see. Maybe this weekend, I'll let you know. That's not effort, that's keeping you as an option. And if you accept that, you're telling him that minimal effort is enough to keep your attention. But a woman with standards doesn't accept maybe. She responds to certainty. If there's no plan, there's no access. Simple. Let's make this practical. Start observing patterns instead of moments. Anyone can show up once, say the right thing once, make you feel special once. That doesn't mean anything. What matters is consistency over time. Ask yourself, does his behavior match his words regularly? Does he follow through? Does he make an effort without being asked? If the answer is no, you don't need more conversations. You need better boundaries. And here's the key: when you see real effort, you reward it. Not with overgiving, not by losing yourself, but by matching that energy. Respect consistency. Appreciate it. Invest where it's earned. Because if you don't reward effort and you keep entertaining words, you train people to do the bare minimum. That's how people end up stuck in situations where they're emotionally invested in someone who isn't showing up properly. Not because they didn't see the signs, but because they ignored them. Now let's go deeper. Rewarding effort is not just about him, it's about you. It's about the standards you set for your own life. Because what you tolerate becomes your reality. If you tolerate inconsistency, you'll keep experiencing it. If you tolerate empty promises, you'll keep hearing them. But when you raise your standards and only respond to real effort, everything changes. You start filtering people automatically. And yes, this will eliminate a lot of options. But understand this clearly. More options don't mean better options. Quality always beats quantity. A woman who operates like this doesn't need to chase clarity. She sees actions and makes decisions, quietly, confidently, without drama. And that's what creates respect. Because now, being in your life is not based on what someone says. It's based on what they prove. And proving something requires effort. It requires consistency. It requires intention. That's what makes someone invest. And when a man knows that words alone won't impress you, he either steps up or he steps out. There's no middle ground. That's how you protect your time. That's how you protect your energy. And most importantly, that's how you protect your value. At the end of the day, anyone can talk their way into your attention, but only the right person will work their way into your life. So stop listening to promises. Start watching pattern. Stop reacting to words. Start responding to effort, because the moment you make that shift, everything becomes clear.